On the night of July 10, the Russian Aerospace Forces and Missile Forces launched another massive missile strike on the territory of Ukraine. Commenting on this missile strike, even pro-Ukrainian Western analysts and military experts were forced to admit its high effectiveness. However, before discussing the main topic of this video, I would like to start by telling you about the unpleasant gift that the West received from Russia in honor of the anniversary of the NATO summit, which is currently taking place in the capital of the United States, Washington. As it turned out, in Washington, while the leaders of Western countries were trying to escalate the war psychosis and demonize Moscow, Russian troops made an unforgettable gift to the West and the North Atlantic Alliance. According to war correspondents, the Russian army still managed to defeat the units of the armed forces of Ukraine and break into the central part of the urban-type settlement of New York, in the Toretsk direction of the front. At the moment, several blocks in the central part of this settlement are under the control of Russian troops. War correspondents confirmed that as of July 11, the units of the armed forces of Ukraine continue to retreat to the northern part of New York, suffering heavy losses in manpower and heavy military equipment. Thus, it can be stated that Russian troops are controlling the entire southern and partially central part of New York. American military experts from the Institute for the Study of War were also forced to recognize Russian troops' significant successes in the Toretsk front direction. In particular, in yesterday's article by this Western Russophobic Analytical Center, it was stated that Russian troops took control of 30% of the territory of the settlement of New York and significantly advanced towards the city of Toretsk. American military experts recognize that such a rapid advance of the Russian army in this direction of the front is due to the fact that Russian troops are actively using heavy flamethrower systems Solnsapek and guided aerial bombs of the Fab family. In their opinion, it is these types of Russian weapons that literally burn out the defense of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Toretsk direction of the front. Commenting on the situation in the Toretsk direction of the front, even the pro-government Ukrainian telegram channels recognized the difficult situation of the armed forces of Ukraine. According to them, the Ukrainian army, at the cost of incredible efforts, could somewhat slow down the advance of Russian troops in New York. However, in their opinion, it is the calm before the storm. Ukrainian telegram channels claim that similar situations were observed in Avdiivka, Soledar, Bakhmut, Severodonetsk, and other cities. Back then, in the battle for these settlements, the Ukrainian army also managed to slow the advance of Russian troops. However, this stabilization did not last long, and there was a sharp deterioration in the situation of the armed forces of Ukraine. As a result, the Ukrainian army had to retreat, surrendering strategic important settlements to the Russian troops. Ukrainian telegram channels are confident that if the Ukrainian command does not take the necessary actions, the same thing will happen in the Toretsk direction of the front, as a result of which the Ukrainian army will have to surrender not only New York, but also the city of Toretsk. Meanwhile, on the night of July 10, Russia launched another massive missile strike on the territory of Ukraine. This time, Rivne, Zhytomyr, Poltava, Nikolaev, and Odessa regions were subjected to a massive attack. According to preliminary data, during this attack, the armed forces of the Russian Federation used more than 70 geranium kamikaze drones and about 20 Iskander ballistic missiles. So, in the Rivne region, near the city of Rivne, about 17 kamikaze drones attacked several objects of the energy infrastructure. It is reported that as a result of this attack, lights went out in the city of Rivne and nearby settlements. Explosions were also heard in the Zhytomyr region. However, unfortunately, the precise information on what was destroyed there is still lacking. In the Poltava region, near the village of Selenkina, the Russian military hit a large oil storage facility. It is reported that firefighters still cannot put out the fire. In the Nikolaev region, in such settlements as Snizhirevka and Pavlovka, Russian Iskander ballistic missiles struck and destroyed the places of the deployment of the personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine. According to the coordinator of the partisan movement in Ukraine, Sergei Lebedev, this missile attack turned out to be the most effective in recent months. As it turned out, as a result of this missile strike, about 100 Ukrainian soldiers were killed. Another 200 soldiers were seriously injured. According to Sergei Lebedev, local hospitals are overflowing with the wounded, as a result of which wounded soldiers are sent to hospitals in neighboring settlements. At the same time, the coordinator of the partisan movement noted that the death toll is likely to increase significantly in the coming hours. In the Odessa region, in the city of Chernomorsk, Russian ballistic missiles destroyed a large group of foreign mercenaries from Britain. The Odessa Partisans reported this through their coordinator Sergei Lebedev. Odessa Partisans note that British soldiers were destroyed at 4 a.m. Moscow time, in the area of the city port, when a ballistic missile struck an ammunition depot of the armed forces of Ukraine. The partisans claim that about 20 British soldiers died on the spot, and another 30 soldiers received injuries of varying severity. At the same time, it is reported that ambulances took the wounded British soldiers not to local hospitals, but to neighboring Romania. By the way, the coordinator of the partisan movement in Ukraine, Sergei Lebedev, noted that it was the Odessa Partisans who informed the Russian military about the arrival of the next mercenaries from Britain. As it turned out, the Odessa Partisans had been following the British soldiers for 48 hours, and transmitted the exact coordinates to the Russian military when these mercenaries found themselves on the territory of a classified weapons depot of the armed forces of Ukraine. Thus, thanks to the Odessa Partisans, the Russian military killed two birds with one stone.